was like, God damn, where you getting these records from?
So I guess you covered up the labels, right?
Yeah, I used to magic marker my labels, and then or put some stickers or tape on it, and just nobody could bite. You know what I'm saying? And I kept my records very secretive. And then I said to myself, that is real stupid because I want to share my music, with everyone. That's why I created the Dusty Fingers for two reasons: to share my music of all my digging ventures and stuff like that. And you can imagine, like yourself, you just asked me, how can I find these type of records? It's just simple, man. Just take an interest of records and buy whatever records you can and take them home and listen to them. You might find something. That's how my motto is. And usually at that time, records were relatively cheap. $2.50, $3, $4, $5, sometimes 50 cents, 10 cents. And I just took chances. And a lot of people in the United States were giving me records all the time. So, and I had friends from different cultures. In New York was very multicultural at the time as well. So I would have girlfriends who were maybe Korean at the time, and I'm Spanish. I would go to her mother's record collection, and I would find some nice stuff. And I was like, that's cool. I had Turkish friends, so they would have records.
Really?
Yeah, we have America. I grew up with multicultural. At that time in the 70s, it was very cool because we weren't just segregated. I went to school with many different ethnicity people. Like people that grew up in Guatemala. They came to America and they just had settled in New York. I had people from Korea. I had people from China. I had people from, Jamaica and Barbados and all kinds of different cultures, a lot of Latin cultures too, Colombians and Dominicans, and it was just great, you know what I'm saying? So I would go to their house to eat. They would come to my house to eat. And that's how we, kind of formed a union. And then in my back of my brain, I was like, man, these people got records. That's all that was on my mind. Let me dig into their records. So that's why I got into the world culture. I was like, there's a lot of fascinating records out there and dope shit. And then thank my mother too. She worked for a radio station in the late 60s, early 70s. She used to just bring records home from different places, and you know what I'm saying? Mostly American stuff. And she would buy her own stuff because she's Italian. She would buy Italian records. So I used to find a lot of dope shit on her records. You know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy. So I think I took it a step further. I mean, Bambaataa also influenced me on digging for a lot of records because he came back. He took a trip to Brazil and bring back some dope shit back in '77, which is Gerson King combo, which I'm going to play later on in the show later. We could just listen to some tunes that I bring. And they used to rock all these joints in the Bronx, and we used to just stay there till 5, 6 in the morning just jamming with world music. And he was only one out of a lot of other DJs that would play stuff like that. Not too many people was like that. They dubbed me the new Bambaataa now in America. You know what I'm saying? Because he is not playing these type of records no more, but I'm bringing all those records back and keeping that movement alive. You know what I'm saying? And then I just went off the deep end. I just went into another direction with these records. And I'm just off the hook with it, I guess. My love for music is that much, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm gonna do this to the day I die. I'm not gonna stop.
Some old school DJs like Gremix or DST or DXT, calls them nowadays. They criticize the compilations like Ultimate Breaks and Beats for being partly responsible for selling out the hip hop culture. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, man. I think it helped the hip hop culture move forward, and it changed the world of hip hop as we know it because everyone sampled from those records. And if it wasn't for those records getting out in that fashion, I think the culture would have died in its tracks. I think it would have been more of an electronic age like what we have now, but it would have been more towards that if they didn't know about these records. And no one would have sampled from it. And then, I helped Lenny put those records together after volume 9. From 9 on, I got him the graffiti artist, who's Kev. I went to school with him.
Cool. And I always loved the covers.
Yes, so the covers. And then later on, I used them for my Strictly Break covers. You know what I'm saying? And then we kept it alive with him. Now, that's the only artist that we commissioned through those times, and he came into 2000s with us too, because he never did any other artwork before, for records. So he's very famous for that. Big ups to my man Kev TM7 from Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? And we showed him mad love, and that's how he became famous, more than doing graffiti on the subways. But he became worldwide famous just through those records alone. And then he came on board with us because we started it, a continuation. And, in memory of Lenny, I wanted to continue that type of stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And to keep it alive. That was my tribute to him. But the Dusty Fingers thing came about later on because no one wanted my production. You know what I'm saying? But I had records that nobody had. You know what I'm saying? And I could say that with the most confidence that they get records from me. You know what I'm saying? And everyone sampled my shit. So I changed hip hop again with the Dusty Finger style type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And sampling will never die. I mean, come on. I mean, that was an era of people that played music that were on drugs. They had a different mindset, and every piece of equipment was made back then. The wood is from the 1970s. The acoustics, the tape machines that were used had that certain sound, and everything is very important. An instrument was made between the 60s and 70s that will play definitely different than an instrument from the 2000s. Same thing with the circuitry and mics and everything and recording. It's totally different. The digital age, it's cool. Don't get it wrong. But nothing ain't going to fuck with the analog shit. Nothing in the world. It just had a certain warm, fat sound that people crave for. And that's why they are sampling these records. That's why they are trying to keep it alive. And people will try to reproduce something, but they cannot. You know what I'm saying? Even these new funk bands, there are much talented bands out there. And I give them much props for trying to do what they could do. It's that you just can't go back and do something that was done back then. It took them hours and hours to tune a drum. And a lot of these drummers today, man, they can't get it like back then. Only a rare few. But they have their own styles now, and they got their shit tight the way it is now. But back then, it was just something totally different. You know what I'm saying? And it was a freer society. It was just, you had those vibes that you can never recapture ever again. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Yeah. Even though a lot of labels fronted on you, you still did some productions, right?
Yeah, I did
Can
some
you
productions.
name
I did
something?
Bismarcky, You Got What I Need, which was one of my biggest records. I helped him out, and I helped him out with a lot of other production with his production company. I was kind of like a silent producer mostly, but I got paid from him, and we worked together well. And we did, his brother Diamond Shell, Granddaddy IU, Kid Capri. I supplied music for all of them, and we just kept it going. Then I did a lot of underground records that really never surfaced, but there was a few that came out. One was on Select with Female Dream. I was called DJ Danny Dan at the time, so DJ Danny Dan and the Female Dream, we did a record of that nature on Select. It was 112-inch. Everybody loved it. Everybody played it throughout the United States and abroad. And it was a cool record. It was more of a kind of like a Bismarcky sounding type vibe, you know what I'm saying? But that was the sound back then, using James Brown and stuff like that, and stuff that was already on the Ultimate Breaks and Beats. And I was like, we're going to do something that's going to fit in with everything else. And it was just like an accident, really, but we did well with that. Then later on, I did other groups, but they never really came out with anything, you know what I'm saying? But a few records, that was really small, pressed up by ourselves or whatever. Then I did another one with Do Up in the Bounce Squad in 1992. And that was pretty big at the time, you know what I'm saying?